All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. My name is Duke, and I'm going to be giving a presentation today on the obstacles to peace found in chapter 19 of A Course in Miracles. I'm going to be giving a brief little rant on the obstacles to peace. Hopefully I can get it done within 20 minutes to a half hour. There is a whole book I highly recommend on this if you're a new course student. It's called The Journey Home by Ken Wapnick, and it goes into pretty deep elaboration on the obstacles to peace. This for me is more or less practice, and my goal for the new year is to make more videos. So I got to start somewhere. So I'll start the year off here with a brief rant on the obstacles to peace. I also wanted to mention I've got another channel too that I started a while back. I haven't done much with it, but I got a few videos up. It's called The Awakening from the Dream Show. My intention with Awakening from the Dream Show was to bring the content of A Course in Miracles and put it out there in more of a freestyle fashion that would be more appealing to to people who are not going to take the time to be a Course in Miracles student, or simply just aren't attracted to the style of language that the Course in Miracles uses. So yeah, Awakening from the Dream Show is kind of my own little creation. I wanted to get going, so I'm going to work on trying to get more videos up, but I do got a few up, and I'm going to put a link to that channel in the bottom of this video, so you can click on it and hopefully it takes you there. You can also find it just by typing in The Awakening from the Dream Show. Alright, to get started, the obstacles to peace. I'll read them off and then I'll get into them. The first obstacle to peace is the desire to get rid of it. And the second obstacle to peace is the belief the body is valuable for what it offers. The third obstacle is the attraction of death. And the fourth obstacle is the fear of God. Before I get into the obstacles to peace, I should also give a little rant on, if you haven't watched my first two videos, I'd highly recommend watching them, Understanding A Course in Miracles Part 1 and 2. I'll go over briefly, just in case, for viewers who haven't watched those. For long-going Course in Miracles students, I know this stuff sounds redundant, but as Course students, we cannot help but to sound redundant going over and over these things. Even though as Course students we feel we intellectually know this, it really has to be integrated into everyday behavior, and that takes a while. So the peace is the peace of God, and God is not like a God outside of us, made in the image of man or the human ego. It's in the Course in Miracles, it's non-duality, it's oneness, and in reality this is all there really is. But in this reality it seems just the opposite. It seems that separation is real and oneness is a lie. Oneness, there's no time, there's no space, there's no duality of any kind, there's no distinctions. It's an abstract love. There's no separate parts in oneness. Here in the perceptual world of the body, the dream, everything in this reality proves that oneness is a lie. And this reality was designed in such a way to prove to us that we are on our own. We're a separated individual that's on our own, but we're not the cause of it. The whole thing's made to believe that you and me, that we came from other bodies when we identify ourselves with being a body. So this whole thing is the separation game, where we've made a fake reality as one dreaming mind. We've dreamed a reality that is the opposite of oneness, that is the opposite of God. So the obstacles to peace are basically how our one mind uses our body to root our attention in the world or in the dream. And this all goes back to, in my first two videos, I talk about the origin of all things, the origin of the original belief in separation, the tiny mad idea. So yeah, I won't spend too much time, otherwise it's going to be another Understanding A Course in Miracles video. So the obstacles to peace, how the mind uses the body to root our attention in the world. The first obstacle is the desire to get rid of the peace of God, because the peace of God is a threat to our individuality. Also, how we keep the separation game going, pretending that there's more than one of us here, is that we see guilt in others. So we establish our separate existence as a body, as a person, as an identity in the world by seeing differences in other bodies and people. And it's all set up to trick ourselves into believing that there's more than one of us. It's all about maintaining the illusion of being a separate self. So the desire to get rid of the peace is how much we desire to see guilt in other people. Because if we see guilt in other people, it means that it's out there, it's not in our mind, it's not in us, but it's outside of us. Because this whole thing is an avoidance tactic that deep down at an unconscious level, we believe that we destroyed oneness. In order to pull this hallucination off, we had to believe that we actually separated from God or from oneness. And here in the dream world, we maintain the separation game by seeing differences. So we have to look at our addiction to playing the game, so to speak, seeing guilt outside of us. Let's see here. All right, welcome back. So we just finished obstacle 1, the desire to get rid of it. Moving on to obstacle 2, the belief the body is valuable for what it has to offer, is once again, the body is much seen in this way. The body becomes like a portal or an escape hatch, where we escape from being a mind, being consciously aware that conscious of the belief that we separated. This is what's being covered up. The body offers the mind a vehicle to house the idea that we separated from oneness. So it's a dream machine. It's an organic computer, a perceptual device that we use to experience a type of hallucination. And really, we haven't left the mind, which is a theme that runs through the Course in Miracles as a constant theme, is that thoughts don't leave their source, that really we haven't left the mind. We're still a mind, and we're hallucinating in a sense, and the mind uses bodies to to enact this hallucination. So in the first video, we seen how the mind was divided into two parts, the right mind and the wrong mind. So the wrong-minded view of the body is that it's used for attack, pleasure, and pride. This is how we defend a illusionary, a fake self. We say, we identify with the body. We say, I'm this race, I'm this age, I'm this nationality. We base our identity around the body, and it's all a game we're playing. So the mind uses the body to deceive itself into believing that I'm on my own, but I didn't cause my existence. I'm the result of other bodies, and that's how that's one example of how the mind uses the body. We keep on attacking, and most of us don't attack physically, but we attack inside in our own minds. We have this little game going of one or the other thinking of we don't see everybody as the same one. We've created a world and a fake reality where differences seem real and oneness seems like a lie. Pleasure, is an obvious one. The pursuits of the flesh, vanity. It's not all suffering. It's also equally pleasurable too. As painful as this reality is, being a body and a separate self, it's very pleasurable. So the mind has an investment in this reality, so to speak, as a substitute reality. The other side of that coin is the right-minded use of the body. Is the body becomes a transformational device. It becomes a classroom where we learn our forgiveness lessons. We learn everybody's all the same one. All the separate bodies that we see outside of us are actually, it's all the same mind. We're all one mind. So the Holy Spirit, as the Course uses the word, the Holy Spirit, or the right-minded use of the body, is it's used for healing. It's used for healing our belief in guilt, our belief in separation. So there's two different uses of the body, the ego and the Holy Spirit. Let's see here. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Like I said before, there's volumes written on this. Could literally talk for hours on it. I'm going to try to keep it short. Moving on to the attraction of death. Different ways to look at this. The attraction of death. The attraction is that we, as an eternal one mind that can't really die, it's as if we're entertaining the idea that we can die. And this proves that our separate self, our illusionary, hallucinated self, is actually real. Death is like the proof that we actually lived. And the idea that we can die, it demonstrates to us here in the dream that our separate self actually is real. And also, it's also looked at as we think death is an escape. We think after all this misery and suffering in this life that we can finally die. But the only problem is that we can't really die. We're an immortal being, and we can't really die. Only in our dreams can we actually die. And if our mind's not healed, it's that old saying, death is no cure for ignorance. So let's see my notes. The reality of death is firmly the reality of death is firmly rooted in the belief God's Son is a body. Death proves we are the effect and not the cause. So once again goes back to that. We're trying to prove that we're the effect of bodies and we're not the mind. We're not the cause of it. So yeah, these are the obstacles to the peace of God. Got to keep that light out. Got to keep that love out. It's a threat to who we believe we are in the dream. Because the love of God, the peace of God enters the mind, and it shows us that everything we thought we knew is actually wrong. We think that the world that we perceive with our five senses is real, and it's not even close. So yeah, I think I'll move on to the fear of God, and I will be back in a flash. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to wrap up this video with the fourth obstacle, the fear of God. And to give a little rant about different ways to look at the fear of God, there's the common fear that motivates fundamentalist religions to keep you out of hell. The fear of God is a motivational factor to get right with Jesus. So it's fear of an anthropomorphic God. An anthropomorphic God is, in a nutshell, a God created in the image of man, where we give God human attributes. We write it in a book, we sign God's name, we say the book is law. That's kind of an example of it. So it's much like fear of Santa Claus. Santa Claus is making a list, he's checking it twice. Just like God, he's making a list, he's checking it twice. He's going to find out who goes to hell or who goes to heaven. Satan's claws, Santa Claus, Satan's claws, are all kind of examples of this type of fear, where we fear the wrath of thy Lord, thy anthropomorphic Lord of thy Bible. Then there is the fear of God, more a metaphysical fear of the absolute reality, a fear of the infinite, a fear of being too conscious of too much all at once, the fear of being dissolved in an endless void of oneness, our individuality, losing our individuality, losing our personhood. Not just our body dying, but the fear of being devoured, our very consciousness being devoured. So the fear of God, I mean, the final veil, or basically what the fear is, the fear of oneness, the fear of losing our individuality. The beginning part of the process, of course, is healing our understanding of God, healing the language, which of course in miracles definitely serves that purpose, helping to heal the language of the Bible, and healing our misperception of what God is. And then it starts to get down to the real issue is we're afraid of losing our individuality, fear of losing our dualistic self. We've created all these defensive shields to protect us from the love of God or from the reality of oneness. That this whole dream is held intact, you know, by these defense mechanisms, these ego defense mechanisms that we created. Our everyday life in the dream, we see ourselves as a separate individual, and we see attack justified. We maintain this reality, not even really being aware of it. We think that it's just normal, you know, that our everyday life is actually normal when it's completely insane. And what it all boils down to in a nutshell is we're afraid of who we really are. Who we really are is definitely a threat to our bodily ego fake identity here in the dream. So physical death is not an escape like we think it is either. We set up and made physical death actually as part of the defensive system that shields us from the truth of who we are. Physical death, which is seen as an end in the dream, is just another beginning, and we keep our dreaming mind keeps on dreaming. So my notes here from the course: our real fear is the dissolution of our dualistic self. Already covered that. In the presence of God's non-dualistic oneness and love, the promise made in secret to the ego never to lift the veil, not to approach it or even suspect that it is there. So yeah, I'm not going to go too much into that. I want to keep this video short. My main motive right now is just to get the videos going. It's mostly, this is practice for me. This is really a nutshell of what the obstacles to peace. There's entire volumes written on just this chapter. And I did figure out how to put the link to the Awakening from the Dream show too in the bottom there, so you can click on that and check out my other channel. I've got a few episodes made already. So yeah, I think I will end this video, and look forward to doing more videos, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, break the cycle of reincarnation. Stay dead. Thank you.